The KZN Cooperative Governance Department is assessing the damage that was caused by heavy rains this past weekend. At least 5 people, including a 1-year-old, have died, with scores more still missing. The provincial disaster management teams are helping those who have been affected. But let's get an update from the provincial CoGTA spokesperson, Siboniso Mngadi, on the latest there. Mr. Mngadi, good to have you with us on ENCA. A really dramatic scene this past weekend for many who found themselves really victims of the flooding once again. Give us the state of affairs as to the measures that are being put out to try and relieve those who have been affected. What has been put in place so far?
Yeah, our disaster management team has been on the ground since Sunday morning. In fact, they were on high alert as when this whole thing unfolded. So they've been helping those communities and families that have been affected. Yeah, we can confirm at this stage that we have received 5 people who have passed away during this period. And, the MEC for Cooperative Governance and Provincial Affairs, Ebong Westolem lawyers, also extended condolences to the families. As I'm speaking to you, we're preparing to visit those families and the community at large. Maybe as the assessment continues. We have also coordinated other departments like social development, human settlement. This is also to help to get the all required data so that we can be able to see how much intervention that will be required from government. We also understand that there are also 5 schools, particularly in the area of Mtabatuba, with almost over 70 homes that have been destroyed by the severe rains. Also the infrastructure like your power lines for Eskom's power lines have also been destroyed, and the telecommunication facilities which is affected the network issues on that area. But also we must indicate that other regions or other districts in the province have also been affected, like in the south coast, the warehouses that were also destroyed. Last night, our teams also reported to us that there was a hailstorm in the Lady Smith areas where over 100 houses were affected because of the hailstorm. So we will continue with the assessment, but we currently, the MEC is leading the team now that is going to Mtabatuba, that's going to meet with the municipalities and all other departments that we normally work with during the disaster to ensure that we fast-track the disaster relief and ensure that we find like permanent solution as soon as possible.
I mean, you're talking about permanent solutions, and that's great. But now, as you mentioned, between 70 to 100 homes and families have been displaced. Where have these individuals now been taken to?
Well, we have opened up the community halls, but some families have opted maybe to seek temporary shelter with their relatives. Some were already trying to rebuild as of yesterday, but we do offer an option to provide a safe place. But some, obviously, they will complain that they cannot leave their belongings behind because of the crimes and other issues. But what we're trying to do, because today we'll also be joined by the human settlement that will also fast-track the provision of the vouchers for building material, particularly to those that or maybe only their roof were blown off, but the walls can still be repaired. So we'll also look at that option for those that can be able to return to their homes as soon as possible.
If you could just comment, Siboniso, on the architectural, I guess, and the structural integrity of the buildings. We have seen roofs being blown off. We've seen walls crumbling due to strong winds, etc. What is it that you're going to do to ensure that the buildings, even the new ones that are being put up, are actually strong enough to weather the elements and to weather natural calamities such as these?
Well, at this point, I cannot really put on what needs to be done, because if you look at the type of the houses that were destroyed, some are properly constructed houses. So it's a matter of it was one of those natural disasters. So it's not necessarily that the houses are not built up to a standard. Yes, there are mud houses that have been affected, which is understandable. But we also find like properly constructed houses that were also been destroyed. What we normally encourage from as part of our disaster mitigation plans, particularly in rural areas and also in urban areas, because we've seen people like moving to any spaces that they seem open. We encourage people maybe not to build anywhere, because you may build where in the low-lying areas, and then you put yourself in a high risk during these disasters. We also encourage, when we meet with the traditional leaders who normally conduct the allocation of plots in rural areas, maybe to ensure that when they allocate people land, they must ensure that the municipality got on board, so that they can identify areas that may be high risk to build your house in, so that they find themselves in a proper place. They don't put themselves or subject themselves in a high risk areas. So that's what we have for now. But what we normally do, we issue alerts before these things happen. It's unfortunate that sometimes most or not all people can move, because when disasters happened, no one knew what the impact would be. So, but for now, that's what we normally try to ensure that everyone is safe.
You'll remember in April of last year, in 2022, the devastating floods that caused havoc in KwaZulu-Natal. What are some of the lessons that have been gained, from an experience like that? Because now it seems to be a more common occurrence. One of the images that we've been seeing, for example, are cars that are literally swimming and drowning on the streets, because the drainage seems to be so bad that the water is actually not being moved fast enough. Talk to us about the changes and the lessons that have been learned.
Yeah, if you recall, like the previous disasters, they hit hard in around Durban areas, and the issues of the drainage system was one of the things that were one of the issues that were raised. There have been improvement from eThekwini municipality in terms of trying to clear up the roads and stuff. But I believe that is not something that can be done over a few years. It's something that can take some time, because the congestion was also a big issue. There's more people are moving. There's a lot of informal settlement that are increasing almost on the daily limit. But if you look at the issue of Mtubatuba, it's the affected area is a rural area where there is enough spaces for water to flow, but it was just unfortunate that it was a thunderstorm accompanied by the very strong wind. But I think we have learned quite a lot from the previous disasters, and as we continue, we also try to mobilize the cleaning campaign, so that where we're clearing the water drainage, so that we try to ensure that we minimize the impact of the floods.
We'll leave it at that for this morning, sir. Thank you so much for your time. That's the KwaZulu-Natal CoGTA spokesperson, Siboniso Mngadi.